Hello, and in this video I'm having a go at building London's cycle superhighway infrastructure. Now obviously it's not the whole of London's cycling infrastructure, but I'm basically just trying to recreate a small junction here. I wanted to sort of give a go at doing London's biking infrastructure, because as you know, I have done Dutch infrastructure before for cycling, so I thought I'd give British cycling infrastructure a go. As it is London's cycling superhighway, I've never ridden on it with a bike, but from the small amount of research I've done and from walking around in London looking at the infrastructure, it's incomplete at best. And inadequate for most purposes. Cycle paths just tend to end. This is a main artery of the cycle superhighway, as it's called. But if you tend to go off the main artery, either the bike path will just end and the cyclist will have to ride on the road, or there will simply just be a small painted bike path, which I did recreate on part on some of the off-roads, but obviously that's not the main sort of part of this episode, so you don't really see it. So getting into what I was doing there in the video, I was trying to create the medium between the traffic and the bike path. And in the previous build I did, I was talking about wanting to get smaller curbs, and I thought I'd give a go of trying to use these stairs network, because I noticed that the stairs network sort of look like curbs, like on the tops. It's made out of bricks, so if I sunk it down and just had it just above the road surface, it tended to look like a curb, which was very nice. It turned out very well, but the only problem is they are very awkward to work with. The networks at best are a pain to work with, just the way that they work and with move it. And if you're trying to work on a network on a road, which is itself a network, you get into real problems with having to highlight certain nodes or segments. It just becomes difficult. Also, because these are stairs, when you turn them the opposite way, the stair face will flip, so it'll be wrong and it will look very strange. It doesn't really work, so you have to just move it and tweak it a lot to get it to work. I'm happy with it. I'm more happy with it than it would be if I used Ronix's curb assets, which are great, but are just too big for what I want. They just don't really fit the scale anymore, I feel. So now I'm drawing a ton of bike path markings and road markings, so I can get ready and just cover up the vanilla old ones with Ronix's Pobble Asphalt. Using a lot of inspiration from British junctions and junctions in London to try and get the markings semi-correct. I use a box junction like I did in the previous British junction that I did. So a box junction is marked on the ground with a yellow sort of hash pattern, and you may not enter the junction if the route past is not clear, so you may not be able to stop in a junction. That is the main idea of a box junction. In practice, people just tend to drive into it, and then that clogs up the rest of the system. But most of the time it works, but not all the time. So here I am marking out the crossings and some of the traffic light lines to stop at. Just trying to get it as detailed as possible. And I use the ploppable thing again to cover up the old lines, just to make it look more realistic. I also tried something a bit different here. I tried to create a sort of small curb for the traffic light to sit on. This works okay. Some traffic, like big trucks and big vehicles, tend to go through it or tend to clip it, which is a bit unrealistic, and you may have seen some of that in the cinematics, but I feel like having the curb there is a lot better than not having it there, because it just makes it feel like it fits this junction more, basically. I'm also going with the sort of red tactile paving. Now, this isn't really the colour they use in London. I just like how it looks. It's been used in parts of London, but the junction I was looking at for this inspiration, I'm pretty sure the tactile paving was just beige colour, but I don't have any beige colour props that can be turned into procedural objects, so I can shape them into what I want. So I'm sticking with this for now, and try and improve something in the future. I did try and do my own textures for procedural objects, but I can't get the texture in game for some reason. I didn't really try extremely hard. I watched Skip's video, basically did what he did, and it didn't work. So I gave up. So I'm not sure what I did wrong, because ages ago when procedural objects first came out, I added textures to the procedural objects and it worked fine. But for now it's not working, so at the moment I'm just stuck with the stuff that's on the workshop, basically. So as you can see there, I was taking parts from my old British design, because this is built just down the road from that, and placing some drain covers, manhole covers over places. I really need to look for more of this on the workshop, just drain covers and like sewage covers, because they're just, if you look down when you're walking in a big city or a big town, you'll see there's loads of drain covers, there's manhole covers, there's loads of sewage access pipes, like ports where you can go down and they can clear out all the rubbish that's inside the sewage pipe that clogs them up. And I feel like it just adds a lot to the design. Instead of having this empty pavement, now have a pavement that's got stuff on it. It's got like a tactile feel instead of just nothing. Even it adds more even than just standard wear and damage decals do. I also go ahead and add a ton of bins and rubbish, and a lot of I add some security cameras as well in the middle of the junction, so that the junction can be monitored. I also add traffic lights for the bike path, because this bike path actually does work with the traffic that I have. This bike path actually does work with the traffic lights I have, but the only problem is the footage that I recorded to show how I built it was corrupted, and the save for this is a bit messed up and it doesn't really load anymore. So I'll just try and explain it as best I can. If you have any questions, just ask in the comments and I will try and explain it some more. I may even do a future video just showing how to do that. But basically, you make a normal junction, you make a normal bike path that runs along the road, but at the point of where it crosses the traffic lights, you turn it into a pedestrian path, and pedestrian paths can have traffic lights on them. You connect the cycle path to the pedestrian path, like as it goes over the junction, sync the pedestrian path so it's just under the roadway, and then you can simply use traffic precedent to create timed traffic lights on either end of that those nodes for the pedestrian path, and then link it to the main traffic light and create a timed traffic light system for everything. Now, you may have noticed that there was a lot of weird stuff going on with where the bikes tended to stop, and they tended to stop on either side of the node, which made no sense, but I guess that's how the bike AI works. It doesn't really know what to do. It's not used to stopping for traffic lights, so I sort of got it to work, and in the video you did see that the bikes tended to stop and then go when the traffic light was green, but they also didn't really follow the path as such. The bike's AI is basically, it does the hell what it wants, and it just goes through everything. It will try and find the quickest way. I found that even after a while the bikes were tending to just cross on the pavement, which I didn't want, and you may have seen that in a couple of the cinematics, and it has to do with the shortest path, and it just was a bit of an awkward situation really to try and get it to work. So I got it to work for a bit and then just gave up because it was very strange. I'm not sure what's with the bike AI. I haven't worked much with it. I just let bikes normally do what they want instead of trying to control them, and it was just very, very awkward. So like I said, if enough people want to see how I did the bike crossing, I may end up making a video. I may end up even making a video, a small like 5-minute video, just explaining how to get bike traffic lights to work. But it's just an awkward hack workaround really, and it works 70% of the time, but like I said, the bikes just do what they want, which sort of sucks. And as I was talking about that, I'm basically going through adding a ton more detail to the area, adding a load of electrical boxes, a load of pedestrian traffic light buttons to the area. Just trying to fill it out, make it look more realistic, just adding more stuff basically. So we're coming basically to the end of the video here. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time.